Okay, I'm going to open the meeting. This is the Ordinance Review Ad Hoc Committee. We are meeting, I don't have the great verbiage right now, but we're meeting remotely on Zoom because we've been allowed to do so. Present tonight are the members, Helen Korchik, Kay Collins, Natalie Gomez, Tom Peak, Sam Sharon, is that how I pronounce it? And Mitch, Officer C Chief with us as well. So is there anyone from the public that would like to say anything that's not on the agenda? Okay, nope. Did everyone get a chance to look over the minutes? Anyone want to make a motion for approval?
Motion to approve minutes from the last meeting.
Second. Okay, second by Helen. I'll do a quick roll call. Tom?
Yes.
Sam? Natalie? Approve the minutes? Cool.
Yes, sorry.
Thumbs up. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Helen? Yes, and they're approved. Thank you. Thanks for doing those so quickly, Kay. This probably feels good. If you do them really quickly, trust me, then it's like you don't have to wait on you for.
Oh yeah.
Who would like to take minutes this meeting?
Try.
Okay, you can do it. I trust you. You can always watch the video if you miss something. Right. And I'm just going to schedule the next meeting now because by the end I'm so ready to get off that I didn't even think about it. So is 2 weeks from this? Does 2 weeks from this Tuesday work for people? I mean, what's the date of that?
The 16th.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm just pulling up the city meeting calendar.
Oh, thank you, Tom. I have nothing in me.
There's a chance I might not be able to make it, but don't let that stop you. I think I should be able to. So.
Okay. Does the 16th work for everyone else? Sure.
So I actually have something on the 16th. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
Do you want to push it out to March 2nd or do you want to be seen?
I wouldn't mind. This month is like really busy because there's well, for me anyway, I'm on another committee, a hiring committee. We could do the next week's the 23rd, but there's a school committee meeting. Then there's the 2nd.
And we could have.
Or there's the 13th. The 18th, I mean. Which one?
Natalie and I think have conflicts generally on Thursdays, but if we did push it out to the 2nd, then would we just agree to do 4 chapters before we meet instead of 2?
Oh, Sam, are you in two windows, Sam? Okay, Sam, you're on mute.
Oh, sorry, I got disconnected. So.
Okay, now you have 2 Sams. We've duplicated. Yeah, we could read more, 2 or 3. We might be also getting feedback from departments by then or something. So that's fine. We could just read more. But then but the thing is, I don't want to have really long meetings because we get really into the weeds. And so we still only have so much time to discuss, you know? So, I mean, we can just take it to. Go ahead.
Do Mondays work for people, or do people have conflicts on Mondays?
I have a conflict on Mondays. There's the 24th.
I can do the 24th.
Wednesday, and we don't have a city council meeting that night. Do you have another meeting, Tom?
Looks like the 24th is clear for me.
Yeah, it's clear for me.
Oh, okay. 24th. Good thing we did that now. We might have been too brain dead later. Okay. So the agenda, if you don't have it, Natalie, the first thing on it was to review the draft letter that Tom wrote. I'll share my screen so you can all look at it if you don't have it open. There you go. thank you, Tom, for taking the time to draft this. The only thing I had when looking at it really quickly was that I kind of want our requests that they review it, not to be like, if you have something to say, I want it to be a little bit more like, we're requesting that you look at it and give us feedback, versus we would welcome, more like, please give us.
Yeah, that makes
sense. That?
I'm fine with that.
Yeah. Okay. And does anyone else have comments on reading this? Okay.
One thing that I thought, but I didn't want to put it in writing until running it by you, was Lindsay as chair, that maybe we put like your name and contact info at the bottom.
Sure.
Just so that they have a point of contact. I just didn't want to put that down without running it by you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I was thinking to do that and then say to them, give them an option to either, if they just wanted to call me, like if there's a few things they just, like, it would take them too long to try to write it out, to explain, they might want to just call me and say, this doesn't make sense because of this. They could call me or write. Either way. I'm just drafting here, so feel free. I'm just not necessarily right here. I'm just drafting a sentence that's more like something like, we are asking that you review the ordinances that pertain to your department. I was going to say, like, for any kind of bias, like maybe like things to look like, are they current and relevant? Was there any areas where bias might, like a little screening? I'm brainstorming, so feel free to interject.
And also, and again, we didn't really discuss it much the last time around, but I want to be very clear. The part of the ordinance review is to fix what's already there, but not to add things or remove things.
Right. Well, if we recommend they remove something, we could, in our review, if something's not relevant anymore or current, we could remove it. I don't think we want to add things. We might ask that the ordinance review committee look at something, but we're not making new laws now.
Right.
The only things that are there. Yeah.
I guess we could, in theory, be like, hey, we happen to notice that there's nothing about this. But
yeah.
Writing a whole new thing, like noting that something's not there is different from like writing new legislation, which would slow us down by months.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's a good point.
Yeah. We don't want to write.
Do you think that it's understood that they are also welcome to attend these meetings, and that they can find out, whoever? I mean, I think that maybe that's obvious, but just sort of a direct invitation for any of these department heads or committee members to attend a meeting and see how it's going. And participate.
Well, I would like to be, I'd like them to attend, but I feel like we need to be more directive. Like as we approach a chapter that we're going to invite you, we ask that you attend if possible. So I don't know, I guess we could have had the building inspector here for some of the buildings, but when we hit personnel, it might be nice if the HR director of personnel comes.
Can I make
I don't know who's in. Yeah.
I think that when it comes to reaching out to people, what we might want to have a meeting ourselves before we invite people, just to make sure that we understand what questions we're asking. Okay. Does that make sense? I mean,
yeah.
Because some of our process here is pretty, and I like this, but it's pretty sort of freewheeling right now. We're kind of jumping all over the place and kind of brainstorming on stuff. And I feel like when we get department heads here, they're probably going to appreciate it if we have hey, so this over, we discussed it internally. Here are the questions we have. Here's the specific things. Now they might.
Will you attend and discuss that specific thing?
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
They might want some time to prepare answers or collect data too.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be nice for clarity purposes anyway, just so everybody's on the same.
Do we want to add something that just says when we are discussing ordinances specifically related to your department, we will give you X amount of notice before inviting you to a meeting, and we will prepare you ahead of time, or we will notify you ahead of time of what specific questions we'll have for you when you attend.
I don't know if we need to say that. I don't know if we want to box ourselves into, because it might just be like we don't understand something, and can you just, depending on the nature of it. And most department heads are pretty flexible. It doesn't have to be so formal, They can...
Do we just want to say we may invite you to meetings where we're specifically discussing ordinances related to your department?
Yeah.
Or we may request your attendance at, yeah.
We may, would you say that specifically
relate to your department?
Yep.
Or specifically related to your department. Same thing.
Okay, so we're asking you to review that pertain to your department to make sure they are current and relevant. I don't know if relevant, but current. You know what I'm trying to say? Like they still make sense. Current. Or match your practices, or match current. Basically, that they still make sense to them, that they still are relevant, and that if they see any areas where bias or discrimination could be.
So to make sure that they are free from bias and discrimination and match your current practices.
Yeah.
Or
there'd be something like cultural relevancy or sociocultural.
I'm just so tired now. My brain is not great. Okay. Okay. So the person is outlined. When writing, I like to put the request kind of up towards the front, so they don't, in case they stop reading after the first paragraph. So maybe we can kind of, let's see. I might want to move this down and this up. Does that make sense? Like this one up?
Sure.
Mm-hmm. That's been underway, so there's a community that may feel a chance to reach out to her. I'm just putting things in order, put in paragraph form later. I'll say, members to give a sense of how they're in written practice. We're asking you. Maybe just hold on. Just putting this sentence down here for now, just out of my way. I just like to be really clear with our request. Let's see. Maybe this should go here, the purpose.
I think that actually the second sentence in the third paragraph should go after that, except for leave out in addition. So you start a new sentence after current practices and just say, we would welcome any proactive feedback you might have on those sections of the ordinances which you most regularly interact with, after the word practices.
Is that? I wish this was a Google Doc, Kay, and then you could be writing.
Oh my God, I know. It's killing me.
I could make it a Google Doc. I'm going to do that because your brain's on fire and mine is not. I'm going to be quick here. I'm just going to do my Gmail magic. Hold on. Now I feel like I'm teaching class. That's what we do. I put stuff in. We all work on it together. Okay. Okay, this is going to be, anyone can write on it. I'm going to put the link in the thing and just, I mean, everyone probably shouldn't at the same time, but if you're feeling it. Okay, hold on a second. I'm going to just put the link in the thingy. What happened to it? Oh, is the chat not on? We don't have a chat? Okay.
I think that with the changes from the stuff last week,
Oh, yeah.
they might have disabled
Okay.
the chat.
We just, okay. In that
Is it
case,
allowed for you to email the link to us?
Yes. Yeah, we'll email you the link. I'm just going to reply all to the last email. Okay, just emailed you all the link.
Here we go.
There we go. Oof, I feel so much better now. Since Kay's on fire. Anonymous llama.
I was on mute. I changed it from this ordinance review process to an ordinance review process, since the paragraph that lays it out of down.
Yeah.
I also don't want it to feel like department heads are being like brought forward to us on some scolding stuff, which is how I'm reading it. I don't know if there's a way. It doesn't seem so. There's professionalism. I'm just saying there's like, I don't want them to read this thinking like, oh, am I in trouble?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. We don't want to. Maybe instead of, this feels a little long, this sentence, I like to just, let's see, as a community review, we may request.
I would just get rid of, we may reach out to.
Yeah.
Board members.
Yeah, good.
Well, I'm sorry, I just finally got on. I was having problems getting on. I can hear you finally.
Oh, good.
Good.
We're just doing some collaborative editing right now.
That's right.
My gosh, just a snowball in my window.
Lindsay, should we drop certain and just use board members? Because if we say certain, that kind of has
Yeah.
Yeah. Why don't we just say to department heads or the members of certain boards or committees? Let's leave certainty out of it, shall we?
Yeah. And then instead of we would welcome, we're asking you. Here,
We are asking you to provide any.
Yeah, here's a sentence. Yeah. I'll mute myself for a second. Step away, I can still hear because my AirPods. I can walk all around my house, still hear you guys. Okay.
should we ask for proactive feedback?
It does still say proactive. We are asking that you provide proactive.
Not proactive, just feedback, because.
Yeah.
That was when we welcomed it, but now we're just saying, give it to us.
Now we're just saying, give it to us. Right. We're asking you to provide feedback on any sections of the city ordinances you most regularly interact with. We're asking that you review the ordinances that pertain to your department to make sure that they are free from bias and discrimination and match your current practices.
Maybe we can leave that because we haven't explained yet. They might not know we're doing it for bias and discrimination. So maybe that will be after, like in the third paragraph, when we just, right now we'll just ask them to provide feedback.
So
yeah, move that. And then, just keep it short.
So
do you want to switch the first paragraph and the second paragraph so it kind of explains everything at first and then we can go into it?
Say that again?
First and second paragraph, if you want to switch them, it explains everything that we're doing and then it breaks it down like, hey, this is what we're doing.
I guess we get,
So I would say probably this.
Yes.
Right.
Good.
Yeah, Natalie, I agree. I totally agree with you. I think it's good to have background ahead of time because not everybody knows what we're up to.
Yeah, the background is good. Okay. I'm really asking for feedback on anything that's new. So now this makes sense. Like the. Yeah. But this is kind of redundant. Let's see, put into practice. Maybe we are asking that you provide feedback on these sections of city ordinances you most regularly interact with an eye towards
removing systemic bias.
Yeah. And making sure they align with your current practices.
Well, isn't that what we say at the bottom? I mean, at the bottom of that first paragraph kind of.
No, but I just mean moving this up because this is redundant a little bit. That's
right. Yeah.
Provide the most regular with an eye towards we are asking the most regularly interact with to make there we go.
Oh, yeah.
There? We have two prepositions like that?
Okay, so.
So is there something I could just, with the second paragraph?
Yeah.
It says we may reach out to department heads. And then it says, we're asking that you provide feedback. So one is, we might get in touch with you.
Yeah.
And then the other.
How about we are reaching out to?
Yeah. So we should say we will.
Well, we are with this letter.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
We are reaching out to department heads and members of certain
I guess the one thing I would just say is, there's probably some city department heads or certainly some boards and committees who we won't have any questions for. I mean,
we didn't say all of them.
Right.
Right, and I think we should put the sentence back in about we understand your schedules and a designated person. You can send a designee.
Yeah, I mean, I think when we actually invite them too, we may invite your attendance or a designee.
Right, this is just serving as a notice too, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Be ready.
But how's it look, guys?
Better. Thank you, Google Docs.
I love Google Docs. I'm done. Okay, do people feel good with this?
Would it be your attendance or that of a designee, or I think the other phrase was phrasing. What was their phrasing? Hold on.
Yeah. Or we can just leave it like that, and then when we invite them, we can say they can send a designee. That's probably fine.
Yeah, that's fine. We don't need to get to when discussing. Yeah, that's fine.
I like the last sentence.
Mm-hmm.
These names are cracking. Who's the anonymous shrew?
Is that me?
Yeah.
Where did this person last strike?
What am I?
Yeah, mine.
An anonymous skunk.
I think I'm the manatee.
Anonymous hippo.
I highlighted thank you. Who am I?
Yeah.
Actually, let me see that.
I think I'm the hippo.
That's true, I think, is the best one.
Are we good? Okay.
What if I sorry, but I think we could drop the whole part that says in order to get a better sense of how city ordinances have been put into practice. What if we said we are reaching out to department heads and members of certain boards or committees to solicit feedback on any sections of the city ordinances you most
like that.
I like it.
Nice. Yeah. Good. Do it. Shrew or skunk or whatever you are.
Hippo.
Hippo. Did you
Anonymous. Anonymous animal. So.
I just want to know what I am. I don't know if it tells me. I think you only can see what I am. That's all. Sad.
Which one are you? What color are you? Purple, orange, or pink?
I don't know. It doesn't tell me.
Oh, does it? Oh. Are you typing now?
No.
This is not a critical thing. I'm like, I want to figure out everyone's animals. Whoever typed hello at the bottom is a llama.
Oh, excellent. I am the anonymous llama. Fantastic. Love it.
Solicit feedback is the shrew.
So I'll
that's me. You know.
all of our animals in the minutes then, right?
Okay, yeah, put that down. Please make sure that's in the minutes. Okay, are we good now?
Yep.
Good. Okay, cool. We'll stop the share. Oh, thank you. That was great. That was fun. Was that fun, Mitch, to watch?
It was interesting.
So the next part, the next thing on our agenda was if there was any findings based on questions that arose from our previous meeting. I did talk to Mayor LaChapelle, and they were surprised to hear that there was no term limits to the Council on Aging seats because, in fact, the way it is in practice is there are 3-year term limits. So we'll add that to we uncovered something. So there's that. With the licensing and permits, I didn't get any data yet, but Lindsay in the mayor's office handles liquor and cars, booze and cars. And then Barb handles fishing, hunting, marriage, dogs. So I'm not sure what kind of data we want on those topics or if we want data or not, but those are the different people. I'm going to definitely make a note about the Council on Aging that we should have it 3-year terms.
Yeah, that seems like a good one too. Yeah, I actually think we found a couple good things last time.
Yeah, no, we found a lot. Those are just, I mean, open questions.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else outstanding or anything that's anyone discovered between last 2 weeks ago and now? Nope. All righty. Shall we jump into bicycles? All right. Free flow. Whoever has anything to say about the bicycles.
I do want to say, I think the one part of that ordinance that's, would be most subject to harming people was actually reviewed and changed due to Eli Damon, who's like a bicycle safety and disability rights advocate. So in reading the bicycle thing, I noticed that we do have the caveat on the bike path stuff for people with different abilities, and then the open road, share the road part of it was just renovated, was just rewritten in 2018 with Eli's feedback.
I remember that vote.
Yeah, I remember that. I mean, I remember I wasn't there, but I remember hearing about that. Yeah.
Yep. The one question that I had was in section 3-48, reporting of an accident. Well, I suppose this is a good question too for Officer Cece is do people actually report bike accidents to the police? And is there accessibility of reporting? Like, is there an online form for people to just file that? Like if somebody was for some reason not particularly comfortable coming into the police department, or people actually reporting bike accidents if it's anything other than like a major accident?
Well, I don't think if I think they'd have to call the police department, actually make a report if they're in an accident for it to be filed. I can check to see if there's a way they can report a bicycle accident without actually contacting us, but I don't think it's a formal accident report. I think the bicycle accident would be similar to a car accident report. They call it in, we take a report, do it. It would be assigned a number, and we do a report. Okay.
And then the only other question that I had under section 3-76 under penalties. So this is one that's about bike helmets. And it talks about any person under the age of 16 in violation of this chapter, the bike may be impounded by the police department. Violation is, subject to a fine. I'm just curious if there's any if the city has anything in place where, like, if somebody is checked for not riding a helmet that's a kid, like, can they not afford a helmet, and is there a way to provide them with a helmet if they can't afford one?
Can I answer that? The Safe Kids that I've worked with a lot in Northampton, yes, we can provide helmets. They usually have programs to provide helmets, child seats, a whole bunch of things. So the answer is yes.
Okay, so that's not exclusive to Northampton?
No, that has to do with the Safe Kids program. So there's plenty of grants and different avenues to get bike helmets for kids.
Awesome. Natalie?
So I wanted to just go back to 3-1. As I was rereading it and it was talking about
You're muted.
You're muted.
That's weird. Okay, well, I guess my space bar doesn't work. So I was talking about 3-1, and it brought up 170-pound limit. I don't think that's necessary. It doesn't matter how much you weigh. Chances are, if you can ride a bike, I think that it's just unnecessary to ask. I don't know if you guys read that part.
Nice catch.
Where is that?
So 3-1 is the
electric
first one.
bicycle.
Right.
I would actually, so 3-1 in the definitions, it talks about the bicycle, a two-wheel vehicle, having a rear drive wheel or wheel. It should be rear wheel drive that is solely human powered. At the very end, it goes whose maximum speed on a paved level surface when powered solely by such a motor while ridden by an operator who weighs 170 pounds
That is so weird.
is less than 20 miles an hour.
And it doesn't even say like less than.
It is no one's business how much you weigh.
170. You have to weigh exactly 170.
You know what I think that
I don't think that's necessary.
I think it's a bike.
It's the definition. So it's talking about like I'm a bigger guy. I weigh like 230, and if I were to ride the same e-bike, it would have a different maximum speed, right? Because I'd be weighing it down a little bit. I think it's just there to define, because we don't want people, there's some of these e-bikes that are,
which they did speak on. So if you look at the definitions, they break it down really well, but maybe that's why they did the 170 pounds, but because we don't know, maybe we should look into that a little more, but that does make sense as far as like our weight and how fast bikes can go. But for me, it's just like
just 20 miles per hour is just 20 miles.
Right.
I think that's enough. Yeah, exactly.
I think that's, I don't have a problem with looking at that, but I do think the USC 25B, I think that this is saying like, this is the definition, like the U.S. like Department of Transportation definition of a low speed electric bike. For it to be low speed, they need to determine like sort of what the real, like if ridden by a sort of average person, how fast could this thing go? I think is the reason they have that there. I don't think it's saying that like I as a bigger dude couldn't be allowed to ride the bike.
Just as long as I don't have to ride faster.
And really, that's the point we're trying to make, right? We just don't want to be over a certain miles per hour, right?
Yeah.
But this is just a definition here. But even that, it just doesn't make sense. Like they would only be 170.
It is the definition verbatim.
It is the definition, actually. Yeah. I just looked it up in the Cornell Law School definition, and that's the actual definition of a low-speed electric bicycle.
Yep.
So.
Weird.
Yeah. So it's not something we can really. We're not making a law on that. It's just it's defining that. It's a weird definition, but maybe it makes sense to Sam because he's a lawyer.
It doesn't make any sense to me. It's just it's just that I think they're just using the individual that weighs 170 pounds as an example.
Do you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. Well.
That's it.
So you're just saying it's verbatim.
Yeah.
So the definition, if it's verbatim, we're not going to change it.
Yeah, well, yeah, but because we don't create the definition of the bicycle.
I mean,
it's not in our law. It's just in our. I mean, the defining terms. I guess we don't define it. It comes from legal 15 U.S. Code 2085. So we're not the origin of it. So I guess we can't change it.
Right. It's not an ordinance.
It's not an ordinance. It's just the definition.
Can we back up for a second and just make sure, like, my understanding of this, and I just, if anyone sees this differently than me, then I'd like to know that. Is that like there are some electric bikes which are not low speed and which could be not appropriate for riding on the bike path. I believe that that's where this definition even comes into play, is to say that like, you can have like a pedal assist electric bike on the bike path, but you can't have like
throttle
some
assisted,
souped up crazy motor and throttle and whatever. Because you see those things. I see them. I live on Holyoke Street, and I see them sometimes in the summer, like going down the street. They can go really fast.
Yeah.
so that wouldn't be great if you've got like your 6-year-old sort of, roller skating on, the rail trail and someone's going like 30 miles an hour on their throttle electric bike.
Yeah.
And
the
so
definition,
we have to,
sorry. I was going to say, I just reread it and the definition now makes sense to me. If we look at it as descriptive, not prescriptive, it's just saying that a bike that has someone that's 170 is going to go, it doesn't go more than 20 miles per hour. It's just describing how the bike works. It's not prescribing. It's not saying you have to be a certain way. It's like the bike, this is how it works. It doesn't go more than 20. So now that I read it that way, it kind of makes sense to me.
And I feel like that's a great example of how we need to reword stuff so normal people can understand it in a way that maybe, that they don't have a lawyer, a police officer present to explain it. I feel like if that's all they're trying, I mean, yes, it's a definition. It's not a big deal. It's not part of the ordinance, but we also want people to understand what they're reading.
Yeah, I agree. Unfortunately, some of the sources we use, we can't.
Do we add a notation to something like that?
I think if it were in the ordinance saying what we could or can't do, but since it's describing a vehicle, that I don't know that we need to do any. I don't feel like we need. Personally, I feel like since it's in the definitions and it's defined by another body that's not us. If it was in a prescriptive area that was telling us what we could or couldn't do, but.
I agree with you, Lindsay, on that one too.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I didn't really see anything else in the bicycles. The only thing I saw was just one of those amazing sort of like what happened here to get this written things, which was 3-3 clinging to vehicles.
Yeah.
I was like, oh man, something bad happened which led this to be written.
They came Back to the Future when he was like,
right. Well, you know what? It was amended in 1989, so you might be onto something there. Oh no, Back to the Future. It was like, nope. We need to very explicitly say you can't do that.
not allowed. Yeah.
Helen, would you mind just making sure that there's a note for the 3-76 that there is the Safe Kids program?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah. Yes.
I just think that's good to know.
Yeah, absolutely.
And have documented.
Right. I mean, there's also, I don't know if I could throw this into the document too, going back to that briefly, that there are often, and maybe it's the same program actually, but through a lot of health insurance providers, there can be ways of, I don't know, getting in touch and you can get helmets and booster seats and car seats and things like that. So bike helmets is definitely one of them though.
Mm-hmm. Officer Mitch.
Yes.
Yeah, I have a question. I'll go you too. Go ahead.
Can people in the community proactively reach out to that program if they have a kid that doesn't have a helmet?
Yes, you don't have to be a member.
Ticketed.
Oh yeah. We used to do. They used to have a program out of Bay State Medical Center. So I don't know if that is still the center for where we contact. There's safekids.org. I was just looking up on my phone. So we probably have to reach out to safekids.org to see who the nearest representative is to get a hold of.
Yeah, I was just thinking too, because Natalie and I work with a group that's doing some community outreach to people, and it might just be something nice to have in our pocket too, like when warmer weather rolls around, especially if there's still COVID lockdowns and kids need to get out, that it might be nice for us to know that for people in the community to know that there's access if they need it.
Mm-hmm.
The bike helmet giveaways work really well with bicycle safety programs. Mm-hmm. So that's another thing that can be looked into to get kids there and trained and bicycle helmet.
Do you know if this, have you ever given a fine for someone not wearing a helmet, or do you know how often this is
I'd have to check, but I don't believe it's really enforceable. I know the law's there, but there has to be an enforcement portion to it, and I'm not sure. I'm not sure if Easthampton attached an enforcement to that.
Yeah.
I've never given out one.
Yeah, because I guess
it'd be a warning of some sort too, right? Like,
warning and
helmet on, like.
It would be good to be able to have something to hand out to people, like if you did run into that, right? Like if it's a kid riding without a helmet and they say, "Oh, I don't have a helmet," be like, "Here, go get yourself a helmet, kid.
Mm-hmm.
Here's where you can get one."
Yeah.
Oh, a ticket with where to get one on it is what you're talking
Not
about.
a ticket, like a little card, just like an info card.
Yeah.
How about a $20? How about a $20 gift
Here's
card?
$20 for that gift card.
Because kids are going to be the only people that get stopped for that, right? Because if you're over 16, you don't have to wear a helmet.
Right. You know what? I guess this is a good issue to talk about. Is that when there's these penalties that aren't really used but could be used, that's a right place for bias to happen. And it could be, so yeah, it's just, because it could be like this kid's being obnoxious or someone has a negative reaction to a kid. So they get, the $20 ticket goes, but this one, it's just these fines that are kind of on the books, but like no one really enforces. I just find right for being not applied equally.
Yeah, and just to sort of build on that, like if you have, like if it's not enforceable, I think that's something that should certainly maybe be in the report at the minimum, just to say, we looked at this, it's not clear that this is enforceable. We should probably either make it enforceable or get rid of it, right? Like it's sense having unenforceable things on our ordinances, right?
Right, like maybe, you see all the sections that are removed and everything, maybe you include in the ordinance some information on like safe kids and where these helmets can be sought after.
It's laws like this and yeah, that just like when you hear horror stories of towns, like I think there was a city in Florida, Coral something, Miami Gardens or something. There was a whole story on the police department there, and just the amount of enforcing they were doing of, I'm not saying this about our police department, say that when there's things like this that can be applied as you choose, there were laws there that were systematically being used towards a certain community. So when you have something, these kinds of things that aren't enforceable but could be, we just set ourselves up for those kind of dynamics. So I don't know what to do with that thought.
Well, I mean, in that consideration, is that something that we could bring to the city council for a review?
Yeah.
Like, here's what, so bookmark this as something that could be applied inequitably.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe isn't really, the fine part of it maybe isn't really enforced. There are resources for people.
Yeah.
Like, does it need to be on the books, or does it need to be changed?
Right.
I mean, I think it's in the interest of the public that there's a ordinance that says that kids have to wear bike helmets, though, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's weird, because if it's, on the one hand, you want to say, well, this isn't enforced, why is it even there? And on the other hand, it's you'd rather leave something that says kids should wear a bike helmet than not. I would think. I don't know.
Well, what if you can, like, not a punishment, but you can be asked you have to get off your bike and walk it.
Yeah. I mean, I think right now, if a kid is found in violation of the ordinance, their bike is impounded, I think is how it reads. Right.
Yeah, and that's pretty harsh.
Yeah.
I mean, because that could be the kid's only transportation back and forth to school, right? So if it's a family that parents don't have cars, the kid's using it to get back and forth to school, and pounding the bike is pretty punitive.
Yeah.
And a lot of times under the age of 16, it's, like I'm just thinking there's a kid on my block that the parents they just don't enforce the helmet. You know what I mean? So I think he has a helmet. He just doesn't wear it. So I don't know. You know what I mean? He should wear the helmet. The parents should be spoken to, not the 8-year-old, but it's just interesting dynamic.
Right.
But
if it was something if it was something that was enforced, not the impounding, I don't think the bike should be impounded. But if there was multiple, if there was multiple complaints or violations, that the kid would be required to attend a bike safety course that would be paid for by the city or provided by the city, whether it be an online course or watching Eli's safety video or whatever.
Yeah. And all these points, right, and I would guess that this is how our police put into practice, as they treat it as points of education and, hey buddy, where's your helmet? It should be more of an what do we call it? Teaching opportunities. and so it's just when laws are written, it's so punitive sounding. Really, if someone doesn't have a helmet, we want to educate them why they should be wearing the helmet and provide them with the resources to wear the helmet. Really, that's the end goal, that everyone's safe. That's probably, I imagine, how it does play out most of the time. But so it's just, do we want to, is this even worth having the book than $20? I mean, what is $20? $20 is painful to people it's painful to, and to everyone else, it's not really a punishment. So that's how I look at it. So it's kind of
Natalie's going to jump back in a sec. She was having some internet issues and couldn't hear us, so she just jumped off to jump back in.
Okay.
And the $20 might not be enforceable anyway.
Right. So maybe we should, let's just mark this one to be looked at and kind of keep that in mind as we go forward, of things that are unenforceable or things that are something that's $20 that's not a problem. For someone else, it's there goes my, whatever, my beer money for tonight. And then someone else, it's a pain point, there goes groceries, then it shouldn't even be a fine. What's the point?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I certainly we don't have to, I don't think, come up with a fully fleshed out idea, alternative to each of these. We just need to identify this is something council should probably take another look at.
And here's why.
Yeah.
And here's why. And we might find a theme. That's why I brought up to just okay, we're starting to see a theme, and these laws fall under this theme, really easily to apply inequitably, depending on just who you're friendly with, who rubs you the wrong way. Okay. We squeezed a lot of time out of the bicycle.
Yeah.
And we're not going later than 7:30 because otherwise we'll never want to meet again. Okay, so buildings. It was fun to read the wage law closely because I hadn't read it before closely, so that was good. Wage theft ordinance.
It was kind of fun. I really came up with a couple of questions. In general, well, I'm going to do the shorter version of it first. The veteran status has a ton of gendered language, and that falls under what we were talking about removing gendered language in general. But one thing that I found interesting reading through that is it's talking about honorable discharges. You wouldn't be considered to count if you didn't have an honorable discharge. And let's just say from an LGBTQ perspective, there are people that were dishonorably discharged for being gay or trans from the military. And that hasn't been resolved yet. So this is what I mean about something that on the surface doesn't appear to have bias, but if you are somebody who is a veteran who, let's say, was dishonorably discharged or just discharged, not honorably discharged from, I forget what the discharge parameters are for being trans, like we know in the last 4 years, like this is a recent thing, like Trump kick trans people out of the military. Yes, now the new administration has allowed them to serve again, but there are going to be people that are like, I don't want to serve again and still have a less than honorable discharge. So they wouldn't count toward our, employment of veterans quota, right? So, and it's not to say necessarily like if you check a box saying you're a veteran, like somebody's going to look at it like a magnifying glass and look at your status, but it's definitely something that would potentially dissuade employers from employing somebody thinking that they're going to like check their boxes for this ordinance if the person wasn't technically honorably discharged through no fault of their own.
That's a very good point.
And just to follow that up, in the beginning, the beginning definition of minority said it was expanded to include people of color, but it doesn't like define it does minority in this case also apply to the LGBT community? Does women also apply, to trans women? Are all women treated equally? And if you're checking gender on a form to say like you've hired, because it says you have to fill out your sex, your gender, is there like a non-binary option in that category for people to indicate too? Or is it just strictly gender binary?
I think a lot of these, a lot in this section refers to law or policy that was made at a different level of government. Mm-hmm. So either through either the state or federal government. So where it says people of color shall mean minority as defined in whatever
Bulletin 14.
I mean, that's a specific policy regarding incentives and encouragements to hire people that have been at a disadvantage historically. Mm-hmm. So it's just part of a greater system that it's kind of like the bike thing. It's defined at a different level.
I have a question then.
And I don't, it's not to say that that's the right thing, but.
I have a question in response to that too then. Can everybody hear me? Okay.
Yep.
Yes.
Is there room then to, if we have this section with definitions generally in these ordinances, is there the potential to add definition that would say for our city ordinances?
We expand it to.
Exactly. We expand it, people or of color or minorities is expanded to include, and then we can specify what that means. Women would be expanded to include, right, trans women, and just like what all of that might mean. Is there room to add those definitions or suggest the adding of those definitions to the city council?
Tom?
I believe so, yes, because this is a local law. We can write whatever definitions we want. I mean, of course, when you're working with contractors, they might be gathering their own diversity statistics, and if they diverge in meaningful ways from what they're gathering, that might make it a little bit more tricky, but that's not necessarily the end of the world. What I will say, and this is, I wish I could elaborate more on this, but I remember this ordinance very well. I remember it was Councillor Zaret who put it forward with the support of the Carpenters Union that has been advocating for things like this. And I recall, I would need to ask Owen about exactly what happened, but there was like a lot of back and forth with the city attorney about something related to this diversity stuff. And so I wish I could elaborate more than that, but I don't remember.
Can we put that on your homework list? And you can
Yeah, I'll call him. I think I'm planning to talk to him later this week anyway about something unrelated. So I will make sure to just see if I can't jog his memory about what, like, is there a reason why these specific terms were used? Would it be an issue if we suggested slightly different terms, etc.? I remember this being a whole thing. So let me get you some more information for everyone.
Okay, so then we can have it on the bullet of sharing of new findings next time.
Great.
Yeah, I really like that idea, though, Helen, of having kind of the local, our understanding of what these terms mean, and I think you could define. I think we could define these terms in any way that we felt was best, and then say, unless as otherwise provided in any specific ordinance, like this one where it refers to a specific bulletin 14 for whatever reason in that application. But yeah.
I don't know if this is going to be relevant, but are you attending, Tom, on February 17th? I just got something from the Carpenters Union, and Congressman McGovern is doing a diversity in construction meeting that I'm attending.
Cool.
So, did you get that?
I don't recall getting it, but I will go back and check.
So Lisa sent it from the Carpenters Union, and it's proven strategies for achieving diversity goals, incorporating increasing opportunities. So I don't know, just since that's coming up on the 17th, it's a webinar, I can ask, it's the same kind of group, so I can ask questions too there. So while you're meeting with counselors there, I can ask, like, how are we addressing diversity when it comes to gender, non-binary, so that. But I like for the veteran, I feel like in our city, for the thing, for what Kay brought up, that should be like a standard that we add in our veterans. Like if you are dishonorably discharged due to your, gender or sexuality status, then you can still count as a veteran in our town.
Right, for all
like
those purposes.
Yeah. And we could just, that'd be great to add anywhere we have veteran defined in our ordinances, just as a blanket. I like that.
The tough part about that, though, is similar to, these other things where there are, and it's wrong and it should be changed, but, if there are certain benefits given to veterans that they get through the federal government,
I hear what you're saying, but in terms of how it relates to local ordinances.
Yeah. Just like
we're requiring local contractors to diversify. Yeah, so yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, but if we have jurisdiction, then we can include it.
Got it.
So yeah, I like that.
I mean, just from a practical standpoint, I don't see any contractor making too much of a fuss over having a broader pool of people that apply as veterans. Their statistics.
Yeah, I don't think the contractors will care, but it's also just it's humanizing. If you were a person that lost whether or not you were even in the military, if you're a trans person, but especially if you were a veteran that was dishonorably discharged for being trans, or if you're just a trans person or you're just a human and care about other people, and you read that, it just sets a tone for our city and how we expect humans should be treated. I feel like
it's interesting. I'm just reading a little bit about people discharged under Don't Ask, Don't Tell. There are 100,000 gay members of the U.S. military discharged with dishonorable or less than honorable discharges due to sexual orientation. And when the Don't Ask, Don't Tell was put aside, you have to apply for changing your status. And, at the time that the article was written in 2018, there was only 500 requests that were put through because people don't.
They don't know.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I don't know. Kay, would you want to take a stab at just writing a statement? Because you have the statistic in front of you, we recognize that this many people were discharged dishonorably, and in the city of Easthampton, we still honor you as veterans and include you in any local, something like that.
Yeah,
So we could
I would want to take it away as homework because this isn't, this was just a quick cursory Google
No,
search.
homework.
So.
That's what I said,
Yeah,
homework.
great.
Homework.
Thank you.
Back in teacher mode, homework, got Tom homework, Kay homework, got no more homework. Okay. But overall, I was very happy to see this law. And I know you guys, I just recently met with Lisa Clausen, and she talked to me a lot about the origin of this law. And I was glad to see it on the books in the city.
Yeah, no, it's great.
Anything else in this section?
No, I mean, I was going to mention that while veterans and people of color were defined, that that women were not, and that could potentially cause some sort of confusion around trans women and whatnot. But Kate beat me to it, and that was the only thing that was the only thing that really sort of that I noted through this whole thing. I think that there potentially is some this is I really believe in this ordinance, and I also think that given the sort of big projects that have come before the council and the planning board over the last few years, just as a small aside, I think that there might be room in the next couple of years to look back and say, are there other sorts of projects that we will kind of want this to apply to, or other sorts of city benefits that we want to make contingent on people doing this kind of stuff. But that is probably a story for another day.
Mm-hmm.
I think just to add to what everybody's already talking about, having the same thing where we have a slight dictionary of updated information. So people of color are now considered BIPOC. You know what I mean? So everybody who reads it is now up to date. It's 2021. And if you don't understand it, we're breaking it down for you. Because even though they do the definitions, it only goes by part. There's no definition area. I didn't find one anyway. Where it was people could be like, what is that? Let me look in the back. And, you have to kind of go through each section. Or did I miss something? No? Okay. So yeah, I don't know if that's something that we could possibly do as we revamp the ordinances.
Yeah, and Natalie, I don't know if you caught the part, but we were saying, Sam was pointing out that there's a reference to a state law that defines minorities in a certain way, but there's nothing saying that we can't say, and as a city, we expand that definition to whatever. And that's all I had for that section.
Yep. I didn't have anything else. It was interesting reading about the historical commission. Rapid entry key system. All right, so we're good. We got some homework. My homework is I'm going to send that out, to put it on the letterhead and send it out to the department heads. Hopefully they'll take a look, and I'm also going to attach the ordinances, the PDF, so they don't have to go look for it. All right, I guess we already set our meeting time. So unless there's anything else to say, someone can make a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Seconded.
Natalie? Helen? Sam?
Yep.
Tom?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. And I vote yes, adjourn. And Mitch, you'll just have to, if you want to stay, you're welcome, but we're leaving.
Thanks.
Take care, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Good night.
Bye.